Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Code Talker deck profile. So I'm really excited for you guys because this is actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Dean. And this deck is a really amazing combo deck that can even U-link your opponent, which is an incredible thing for this deck to be able to do. I really love the way that this deck also makes use of all of the generic Cyberse support. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name in the description of a single video, getting assigned cards to the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron, along with test stands. And definitely give Dean some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Microcoder, which is one of the best cards in the entire deck because it gets us to our Cynet Codex. It has the ability that if a Cyberse monster you control would be used as a link material for a Code Talker monster, then you can also use this card in your hand as a material, which is a really good effect to just be able to have that extra monster for link summon. And if this card is sent from your hand or field to the graveyard as a material for the link summon of a Code Talker monster, you can either add a Cynet spell or trap from your deck to your hand, or if this card was on the field and it was used as a material, you can add a level 4 or level 4 Cyberse monster to your deck instead, which is a really good effect, but you're only ever going to add that Cynet card because you're going to try to get to your Cynet Codex as quickly as possible. We then play 3 copies of Nightmare Corruptor Ibli. This card is a great 3 of in this deck because it has the ability that when this card is normal summon, you can target 1 link monster in your graveyard, special summon it to the field so it points to this card, but change its attack to 0. Also negate its effects. Now here's where the really insane effect of this card comes up. That you can't special summon monsters except for link monsters. Now you might be wondering, why is that so crazy? For the next effect, that if this card in its owner's control is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card to your opponent's field and defense position, basically locking them out except for link monsters, which in a lot of decks can really stop their plays. We then play a single copy of Cross Debug. Cross Debug is really good because if you control 2 or more link monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand to your side of the field. So this card comes up a lot in this deck to just be able to special summon it out. We then play 3 copies of Lady Debug. Lady Debug is really good because if this card is normal or special summon, you get to add a level 3 or lower Cyberse monster from your deck to your hand, which if you don't already have Microcoder is always going to be Microcoder. We then play a single copy of Backup Secretary because it can special summon itself to your side of the field if you control a Cyberse monster. 1 copy of Cyberse Gadget because it has the ability that when you can normal summon this card, and then when you normal summon this card, you can target a level 2 or lower monster in your graveyard and special summon in defense position, but its effects are negated. And if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon a Gadget token, Cyberse Light, level 2, 0 attack, 0 defense to your side of the field, helping you go into more link plays. We then play a single copy of Cyberse Converter because if all monsters you control are Cyberse monsters, then you can special summon this card from your hand, which is a pretty good effect. 1 copy of Formud Skipper as well. Formud Skipper is really good because it has the ability that when it's used as a link material, you can actually search from the deck a level 5 or higher Cyberse monster. We then play 2 copies of Code Generator. This card is very similar to our Microcoder because Microcoder has the ability, just like your copy of Code Generator, that if a Cyberse monster you control would be used as a link material for a Code Talker monster, then you can also use this card in your hand as a material. And if this card is sent from your hand or field to the graveyard for the link summon of a Code Talker monster, you can send a Cyberse monster with 1200 attack or less from your deck to the graveyard. Or if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add that monster to your hand instead, which is a very good effect, but you have a really good target to send from the deck to the graveyard, so you're always going to be sending this card from the hand. We then play a single copy of the Adagnister Shield. This card is a great one-of because it is an Earth monster as well that has the ability to target a Cyberse effect monster you control, negate its effects, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand, which is a really good effect to just extend your plays. Now the card we're going to be sending with our Code Generator all the time is going to be Dotscaper because Dotscaper, when it's sent to the graveyard, can special summon itself to your side of the field. And if this card is banished, you can also special summon this card to your side of the field, but you can only get either or of its effects per turn. And you can only use 1 Dotscaper effect per turn and only once that turn, and you can only use each of its effects once per duel. We then play a single copy of Balancer Lord. Balancer Lord is really good because it has the ability to once per turn pay 1,000 life points, and then during your main phase this turn, you can normal summon a Cyberse monster in addition to your normal summoner set, which is really good. And if this card is banished, then you can special summon a level 4 or lower monster from your hand, which is pretty good just to be able to special summon an additional level 4. One copy of Link Flyer. This card is really good as well because you can special summon this card from your hand to a zone a Link monster points to. 2 copies of Parallel Xyz, because if you Link summon, you can special summon this card to your side of the field to a zone a Link monster points to, because if you Link summon, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is really good because it also has another effect that if this card is special summoned, then you can special summon an additional Parallel Xyz from the deck, but make both of them level 4 and both of them have 1,000 attack and defense. Play a single copy of Scriptron. Scriptron is a really good card as well because you can banish Cyberse monster from your graveyard to special summon this card to your side of the field. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, then you have the ability that you can target one of your banished monsters and shuffle it into the deck, which is pretty good if it's used as a link material for a Cyberse monster. So you can get back cards like your Dotscaper back into the deck. We then play a single copy of Code Radiator. This card is a good card to be able to search from the deck off of your Cynet Codex because it can also be used in your hand as a material. So this card comes up all the time with this deck. Play a single copy of Sea Archiver because if a monster is normal or special summoned to a zone and link monster points to, you can special summon this card from your hand or graveyard but banish it when it leaves the field. And then for the other 3 cards that we're playing in the deck, we're playing a single copy of Salamangreat Gazelle because this card, if a Salamangreat monster is sent to the graveyard, then you can special summon this card from your hand. And if this card is normal or special summon, you can send a Salamangreat card from your deck to the graveyard, which is always going to be your copy of Salamangreat Spinny that you're going to be sending to the graveyard off this card's effect, because the Salamangreat Spinny can special summon itself back to your side of the field if you control a Salamangreat card. And then we play a single copy of Mathmech Addition because this card has the ability to target a face-up monster on the field, and then it has the ability to special summon itself to your side of the field and increase that monster's attack by 1,000, which is a great effect for this deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing quite a few good ones in this one. We're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn, which is going to extend our plays so much in this deck, and it's such a good card to be able to play in this deck. One copy of World Legacy Succession because it's Monster Reborn, but for Link Arrows, because it has the ability that you get to target a monster in your graveyard, special summon it to a zone a Link monster points to, which is a really good effect to be able to just special summon a monster back to your side of the field. One copy of Salamangreat Sanctuary because we can search it off of Balinks and then link the Balinks for another Balinks to reincarnate summon it, which is really good for this deck. Play a single copy of Called by the Grave because Called by the Grave lets us stop our opponent from hand trapping us. One copy of Cynet Optimization. Cynet Optimization is really good as a one-of in here because it has the ability that if your Code Talker monster battles, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. And then during your main phase, you can immediately, as card resolves, normal summon a Cyberse monster. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extract for the rest of the turn, except for Cyberse, which is not that big of a deal because all you're really going to be summoning is Cyberse anyways. We play 3 copies of Cynet Mining because it is a great searcher in the deck that has the ability that you can send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard to add a level 4 or lower Cyberse monster from your deck to your hand. And then we play 3 copies of Cynet Codex. This card is literally the best card in the entire deck because it has a crazy good effect that if a Code Talker monster is special summoned from the extra deck to your field, then you can target one of those monsters to add a Cyberse monster with the same attribute from your deck to your hand. Also, you can't special summon monsters from the extract for the rest of the turn except for Cyberse, which is not a big deal because all we're summoning is Cyberse anyways. And it also has the ability that you can't add other monsters with the same attribute to your hand by the effect of Cynet Codex this turn, and you can only activate the effect of Cynet Codex once per chain. So for example, if I summon an Access Code Talker, I can search a Dark, and then I can't search an additional Dark for the rest of the turn, even if I go, for example, a Decode Talker. You can only search 1 attribute at a time, and only once that turn per attribute. But you can search up to 6 times with this card, because for every different attribute of Code Talker you summon, you get another search. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing a single copy of Cynet Conflict. This card is really good because it's basically an Infernity Barrier that when a spell trap or monster effect is activated, while you control a Code Talker monster, negate the activation, and if you do, banish that card. And if you do that, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects with this same original name as that card that was banished until the end of the next turn. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of our Ghost Rare awesome Firewall Dragon. This card is incredible and I love it and it's so cool. So we're going to be playing a single copy of Firewall Dragon. This card is really good for the deck because it helps you get all sorts of different plays. Its effect has been changed from the original Firewall Dragon, and the new effect is that you once, while this card is face up on the field, quick effect, you can target monsters on the field and or in the graveyard up to the number of monsters co-linked to this card. Return them to the hand, and if a monster this card points to is destroyed by battle or sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Cyberse monster from your hand, and you can only use each effect of Firewall Dragon once per turn. We then play a single copy of Access Code Talker. Being able to play both of these ace monsters is just so cool in this deck. This card is really good in the deck because you're going to be using all sorts of different types in this deck of monsters to be able to send to the graveyard, like your attributes of monsters between wind, water, fire, earth, light, and dark. So this card can get up to like 6 pops in a single turn, which is really good, and can come out at like 63, which is crazy. We then play a single copy of Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax. This card is very easy to summon to your side of the field and is a incredible boss monster to summon out as well. We play 2 copies of Transcode Talker, which is basically a monster reborn, but you have to special summon it to a zone this card points to. Because while this card is co-linked, if this card is co-linked to a monster, or all co-linked monsters gain 500 attack. Also, your opponent cannot target any of them with card effects, and then you can target one link 3 or lower link monster in your graveyard, except another copy of itself, and special summon to a zone this card points to. And you can't special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect, except for Cyberse, which is totally fine because this card is going to be a great extender. We play a single copy of Xcode Talker, pretty much for the arrows, and it does lock down a zone on your opponent's side of the field, which is super helpful. 1 copy of the Water Code Talker. You're playing this one strictly pretty much for the attribute. So this card is just here for the attribute and the link arrows. 1 copy of Trigate Wizard. This card is really good, especially comboed with Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax, because basically you can just summon this card directly below your link zone, this card next to it, and then have a transcode pointing down to it, and then maybe an access code to the right or left side, I mean. And this card is just really good because it's a walking negate. It has 3 different effects depending on the arrows that it's being co-linked with. If it has one, if this monster is co-linked, or excuse me, if a monster co-linked to this card battles an opponent's monster, any battle damage inflicted to your opponent is doubled. And then if it has 2, once per turn, you can target 1 card on the field and banish it. And then 3, once per turn, when a card or effect is activated, quick effect, you can negate the activation. If you do, banish that card. This card is crazy good and really easy to summon this deck, which you guys will definitely see in the test hands. We then play a single copy of Code Talker. This card is basically the starter of the entire deck because you're going to be using your copy of Lady Debug and Microcoder to link into this card to get your copy of Cynet Codex and then go for all of your different plays. So this card is great to be able to use in this deck. 1 copy of Code Talker Inverted. You can use this card's effect that if this card is link summoned, you can special summon a Cyberse monster from your hand to a zone this card points to, which is a really good effect. 1 copy of Splash Mage because it can bring back a monster from the graveyard. Talkback Lancer. Talkback Lancer is kind of neat in this deck. It does require a level 2 or lower Cyberse monster to link summon in this card, but it lets you tribute one other Cyberse monster, then target a Code Talker monster in the graveyard with a different original name from that monster and special summon it to a zone this card points to, which can be pretty helpful to help you U-Link. We play a single copy of Linkuriboh. Linkuriboh is really good because it helps you go in for all sorts of different plays. And then double Baylinks, because Baylinks is really easy to summon in this deck. And you just link away any Cyberse monster to summon it, search Salamangreat Sanctuary, and then once you do that, you can then link it away for another copy of Baylinks once you activate the Salamangreat Sanctuary. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. 1 card I did consider putting in here was a copy of Update Jammer. I did end up cutting this card out of the extra deck because I couldn't find the room for a single copy of this card, but if you do find the room, you can definitely put that card in, so that is an option for you guys. So that's it for the deck, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely tell me what you think of this deck down in the comments down below, because it is a really fun deck. I'm really glad that Dean actually suggested this deck because I love playing around with Code Talkers. It's really amazing, all the different plays, because basically it's just a toolbox deck to go into all sorts of different basically link monsters. So that's it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.